Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you're either watching the recording or listening to the Mindshare podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 21. So she is one of North America's leading real estate team coaches, and although that's the way her bio comes across, I'm going to say she is North America's leading real estate team coach.
I agree. Just kidding.
Yeah, no,
sorry,
for sure, right?
Sorry.
So, recognized within the top 1% of realtors in the Toronto Real Estate Board, and building upon her 10-plus years of agent development, hundreds of teams attribute their growth and success to her leadership. Her credibility and understanding of the real estate market has guided countless teams to be the top 1% producers, and the success of her organization centers around integrity, honesty, and results-driven measures, the very thing that represents her. She has also been named one of the top 100 elite women driving the future of real estate by Rep Magazine, and top 20 emerging leaders by T360 2018 Swanee Poll Report. She's the driving force behind the Ultimate Team Summit, the largest team-specific real estate summit in North America, a yoga lover, a mother of two. She is also CEO of Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce the one and only Kathleen Black to the Mindshare podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And obviously, I'm just joking. Like, we're all about be humble, put your head down, and get work done is our whole mentality in life. So just in case anyone's never seen me, we're like, our thing is like, let results speak for themselves. Like, you can see them out in the market. So no, I was totally joking, just to clear.
Well, I will say that results have certainly spoken for themselves, though. So if you don't want to do it, I'm going to do it and say she's awesome, great people. The coach and the training, I mean, I've heard nothing but amazing things out there from the folks that are taking your courses. But fortunately for me, I've also gotten to experience a lot of that firsthand of seeing you work your magic. And I mean, you do an awesome, awesome job. So it's, definitely toot that horn, you know? So Kathleen, every week, and I mean, you're not new to this, but every week my whole thing is about trying to help people build more mindshare, leave our listeners walking away with little nuggets that they can use to build mindshare.
Sure.
And I guess just sort of like going right into this with you, I want to give people a little bit more background. I know I just read like a really cool bio, but I know there's so much more to you. You used to be in the real estate industry. You transitioned into coaching. What led you to kind of go from like selling into this thing of like helping?
Well, there were lots of things. I always say, it's like anything in life. Like, the opportunities that were presented to me were, a chain of unfortunate events for some others, whether self-created or not, regardless. But I actually never wanted to get my real estate license, which, is a really unpopular thing to say on a real estate podcast. But the truth is I didn't. I had two little kids. With my ex-husband, we were buying investment properties, and it was literally hustle, sweat, equity, 100%. So I know all about being in this business, my past coaching company, and before my real estate business, where everything was being reinvested. Like, whether it was our time, it was our energy, it was our money, like everything was to try to build leverage and grow. So we were buying investment properties, again, two little kids, I'm managing them, I'm like standing drywall, painting, like just everything. And my husband at the time said, hey, like, you should get your license. You're really frustrated with the process. Like, you're saying what terms, conditions, all this kind of stuff to go forth with. And I had my own formulas for assessing our investment properties that worked really well for us. And didn't want to do it. And kept pushing, and eventually, obviously, I did, and I got busy very, very quickly. Top 1% within the first year, selling a lot of real estate, and unfortunately, I went through a separation my first year in real estate. I'm not going to blame the business; it is what it is. I always say I'm very happily divorced, so I have no stigma. And I am. Like, I have absolutely no.
Why is it that the people that do it, they learn from it, and they almost come back with that same thing? I'm
very happily divorced, and he's very happily remarried. Like, it's all good, right? So no, seriously, like, divorce was imminent and necessary for me. It just wasn't the right fit, right? But going into that, I mean, what happened was I went from having somebody else who's a sole income earner, and we're buying these investment properties, and we're leveraged to the hilt. Like, this is when it's, 5% down, then no money down. Luckily, we didn't do that, thank goodness. And lots of US money coming into the Canadian market at that time to get mortgages and make it really, really easy, right? Before we had that little switch in 2009. So long story short, all of a sudden it's like, you're the sole income earner. You just started selling real estate. I've got a 1.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old. I'm like, I guess I'm going to make it work, right?
Yeah, wow.
So all of our assets were actually frozen for 5 years. So thank goodness that I kind of hit the pavement with real estate. And I ended up to be able to buy a small cottage and buy a house and like support us in that time until everything kind of came through. And by then I wasn't as depending on it, right? So in the meantime, where I was selling real estate, they started a coaching company. I was of course intrigued by this. They'd come to me and said, hey, can you go through our workbooks? Like, come to the first event, oversee the content side of it and kind of help with editing. And that was just a little piece that I was involved with. And long story short, within 12 months, the director of coaching was let go. I was offered the position. I just started, like I said, coaching like within 12 months of that time. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, like this is something I want to do. I didn't want to continue to sell. I love supporting other people with systems that allowed them to make money, because when you're separated and you feel like I'm destitute, what the hell am I going to do? Trust me, systems and efficiency become extremely important. So I am super intense and passionate about efficiency because I needed it. So I certainly leveraged it. And then within 2 years, I became director of operations. And then we kind of saw the books. And I always say coaching companies are like restaurants. They're actually really difficult to sustain, kind of like real estate teams. Honestly, they're very similar. They're very similar. I have built my business exactly how I support people building in real estate. And I've gone through some of the same hurdles and mistakes and lessons that people do when they build real estate teams. That's just the truth of it. But yeah, essentially it was a fire sale. Like, there was a coaching company and a whole amount of debt, and nobody really wanted to clean it up and content. So hey, I thought, why not? So I did that. Redid all our content, got us out of debt, built all the Canadian team summits except for one that we ran. And then I sold my half of the shares to my prior business partner, and I owned all the content. Half the clients came with us, and that led to this company. But what's really cool, like for anybody who's facing a transition and they're unsure, I was terrified. Like, I felt like that same time with the separation, right? I was like, oh my gosh, like I've got no money. What the heck am I going to do? I've got kids, like I'm still on my own.
That's scary.
But, so I'm still on my own with these big ideas. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do? And the first year in this company, we actually did 48% more than the previous company ever did, just in the first year. So it just shows you how important alignment is, right? And being in the right energy, the right values. And we've just continued to like take off ever since. And it's not because of us, it's because we work with great people who are willing, to trust us and take a chance with us. Like, that's really what it's about. So that's a short version of how we came to do this. Sure. But it's 11 years full time working with teams. So like, I've seen the end game, right? Like when people are going, I don't want to sell anymore, but can I afford it? Or I don't want to do that. Or I'm selling like constantly, but the team can't survive. Like, I've seen where it ends and work with the teams who are 15, 20 years in, who kind of go, oh my goodness, like I built something that I can't get out of. So I know where it leads later, which is really important for us as a company, because we try to make sure people are strong. So I'm getting ahead of things, but
but you know what, that's a great background there to kind of go, where did you guys, I mean, you said some amazing things there. And it's you kind of go from that point of, and I don't know if I'm going to use this word properly, but struggle, fear. And we all, as humans, we all really excel in the face of fear. I mean, there's people that totally retract. But the reality is, when we are faced with fear, we actually figure out a way to conquer. And I mean, that's exactly what your story sounds like right there, right? Is where am I going to go? What am I going to do? But then it comes back to that idea of systems. And that has got to be one of the biggest missing links or pieces or tools or fundamental processes for any agent out there. And not all agents, because there may be a lot of you watching and listening that go, I'm totally locked in. You might have taken Kathleen's course. You might have taken mine, like whatever it is. But the system itself is so important. And it's, when I wake up in the morning, what am I going to do? How am I going to treat myself? What am I going to do for my personal, my business? How am I going to really think through it a day? And then before I go to bed, what am I going to do? What does that routine look like? And hey, routines are boring. They're monotonous, but they lead to consistency and they lead to success.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest things that, again, something from what I just took from what you were saying, it's you really built your system. And so now you've been training these systems to a lot of these top producing teams. And I mean, not to as well get ahead of myself, but Ultimate Team Summit last year, I had the opportunity to listen and sort of speak, but kind of watch the success that was in that room. And I was blown away. And I say that like totally sincerely. I was blown away by the successes of a lot of the teams that were in that room that are working with you. Like, I mean, you're talking hundreds of deals a year. And these teams are not necessarily the biggest in terms of numbers of bodies,
No.
but it was their systems. It was what they do. So here's a question for you then. I was doing a presentation the other day, and at the end of it, I was speaking with three ladies, and one of the ladies had asked me, come on in, and we sat down in their office for a few minutes, and they're all getting into a team, into a sort of a partnership team. They're building this concept. And one of the first things I've always said to people for years now is, and they're like, yeah, me and Kathleen, we're going to team up. And like just Kathleen, their colleague, right? We're going to team up. I'm like, okay, cool. What's your contingency plan? And they're going, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, just like in case, what if? What do you plan for tomorrow? So, I mean, that's kind of one of the things I like to explore with people. But again, there's always a big debate amongst realtors these days. Should I form a partnership? Should I form a team? Should I join up with somebody else? I want to get your opinion on this. Like, can you clarify, because I've heard you do this before and I thought that was important for people to understand. Can you clarify what this idea of real estate team concept is? Like, what does it mean to either be on a team, have a team? Is a team mean it's all a whole bunch of realtors, or could this be my resources that I use to help me get my business done? Can you clarify that for everybody?
Yeah. So two things. I mean, just to kind of, because it's funny what we've been talking about, but yeah, like talking about your contingency plan, that's what people like me who are happily divorced call your prenup, right? Like how do you make an agreement when you're happy for what to do if things go sideways? And it's important, right? Because think about it, like getting into business with somebody is very similar, if not just as serious, or sometimes more. Sometimes it is more serious. I know that sounds crazy, but
no, I'm with you. This is our goal. This is money. We're talking money, right?
Right. It's really, really important. And if there are not similar values, if you don't appreciate, even if you have the right personalities to play off of each other, that could mean the other person is extremely different than you. And if you're not in a place yet, and I say yet because I think all humans are evolving and growing and learning. And when we see a way to learn, we will, right? Yeah. But if you're not yet at a place where you know yourself really well and your strengths and weaknesses, you might see this other person who's the perfect fit for the business and think, oh, they don't get it. Oh, they're not the driver. They're not the money maker, right? Like you won't know how to work together. So a team in our model is not a group. And there's a lot of groups out there in real estate, and groups are going to become probably in some ways they'll become more popular because as the changes happen in our industry, leverage is a necessity. It's not an option, it's a necessity. So as we have these changes in lead generation, we see what's going on with Realtor.com. We have all this controversy about, Zillow and leads and whatever else. As we see the need for people to leverage resources together and cost and ensure they can be profitable, I think more and more people will group up. So they'll share an admin, or they'll think, oh, it's cheaper to do our marketing together. But that's different than a team. Right? The idea of like just sharing an administrator or having, the same postcards to walk around, or, hey, I'm going to have Saturdays off and you're going to have Sundays off. That's a group, potentially like a partnership if there's two of you. A team is a cohesive. It's synergistic. They have the same values. They have the same mission. They have the same vision. They're running the same systems. They also appreciate unique ability. So they're saying, hey, there's no comparison. Like the right person for the different roles on the team are because they have a unique ability in that area. They can do it better than me. That means they're more efficient than me. And because we pool our resources, we can leverage having the best of the best in all the different seats. And of course, I'm explaining the ideal of the definition here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it allows us to leverage. It also does something extremely important. It allows us to elevate our level of client service. And that's so important because the biggest the biggest criticism of team is that people are saying, well, it's reducing the client service. That's not true. many, many top producers have in the end not wanted a team and actually gone forth and got one, because their realization was, I can no longer provide the highest level of client experience, the highest level of client service, the highest level of marketing exposure if I'm not pooling with a team to have the resources to do it. And no matter how good I am as an individual agent, I'm not going to be able to deliver that and grow. And what was beautiful about this, because this is a story, actually it's happened several times since I've been doing this, but what was beautiful about it was, it didn't come from more money. It didn't come from ego. It wasn't like, I want to be the top team in Canada and I don't care if I have to have 50 agents doing, 8 deals a year. Like, that's not where it came from.
Yeah.
It came from, I want to take care of my people. Like, these people trust me. These people work with me again and again. Like, this person had a really high COI, like center of influence, repeat and referral, and going, how can I show up with integrity, knowing that I'm actually providing a diminishing service in the area because I don't have resources to elevate? And that's a problem, right? So teams are also have art and science. So we're tracking, we're measuring. And I always say that the teams have the wins and the margins. And that makes them machines in the most beautiful ways. Because when you're looking in the margins for small wins, right? Small percentage here, small percentage improvement of conversion there. You know what's possible in every area. They're going to figure out how to improve client experience. And my belief is, when you offer more value, you make more money. I improve client experience. Not everyone wants full service client experience. And that's totally cool, because, hey, there's more options than ever if they want to choose something else. Yeah. But guess what? There's a high percentage of people, when they understand the process, who do still want full client experience. And that's more than enough business for the teams. So they supply an elevated level of experience, elevated level, in my opinion, marketing, exposure, and education. Process, leadership to the clients. They consult the clients. They're an advocate for them, and therefore they make more money because they have more value exchange in their communities. And that's a pretty beautiful thing, right? And the other thing is, they're obviously trained before they work with clients, so they have a conscisit minimum standard. So sorry, I went off, but
no. But I mean,
I'll stop.
No. I get that one a lot. But that's one of the big things, that key word you used, of the value that you provide, right? And I mean, here, when we're talking to anybody listening and watching right now, it's important to really recognize that, and I've said this many times, so for all of you that have been in my presentations or my training, I'm sorry for the broken record here, but you want to up your online game, you want to up your social game, you want to up, like, taking advantage of tech. It's the value that you provide that is going to leverage those technologies. Because if you're not providing value, and this could be in person, in a team type of concept, an individual type of concept, or just overall providing value out there to your audience, the reality is you're a commodity, or maybe you're treating them like a commodity, but there's not a relationship. There's not a connection point there. There's not a reason why people want to circle back and go, I either want to use you again, or I want to tell people about you and come and use you again. Right? So the value, yeah, and that's the big thing. That's what it comes back. You can't buy that stuff. You've got to earn that. And so much the same. And I mean, again, for anybody that uses the KITS program that's watching or listening, one thing that you've always heard from me, at least, is, as much talking as we've done, the next step in the process is that my team is about to get involved. You will be hearing from multiple people. So I'm now preparing you to understand what the next steps are. But I'm also reminding you that whatever you need, I haven't left the building. So if you need me, and I'll periodically be in touch with you, but as we get you going, it's a well-oiled machine. So we've now got everybody playing a role to ensure that we deliver on what you want us to deliver on. And I think that would be much the same for any type of team concept, even in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Now, looking at that from team as well, and I mean, part of what you were saying just now, and then sort of the group idea and the team thing, and then I've heard you say this as well before, but it goes beyond just having other realtors working with you. This could be your photographers and stagers and all those people that really help you bring something to life, right? And that's something that everybody needs to know to leverage, I guess.
Well, and you need to know which value proposition you want to have, right? Do you want your value proposition to be that you are boutique and you're, one-on-one service, and you offer something elevated, and why? And if that's the case, you want to make sure you have an irrefutable argument, like a really good logical case to explain that. And I think there's definitely markets where that is massive, right? And people build a big business like that because they effectively educate a dark side of a team and their solution to it. And the teams effectively educate a dark side of an individual agent experience, and their light side is the solution to it. And we work with both sides, because our thing is being able to articulate value, right? Like you can be the best, I always say, you can be the best agent out there. If you cannot communicate your value and you can't consult and educate and lead, it doesn't matter. You're not going to have value exchange. It has to be between other people. So regardless of what your strategy is, we're going to help you kind of communicate and expand that. So I think it's both ways. And then there are people who really want a team and they're growing. And like you said, David, they're like, yeah, I've got the admin at the brokerage and the stager and home inspectors and the lawyer, and like everybody's part of that team as they grow. And you know what? I'm a big believer of throwing an anchor out there and being 100% all in for what you're building. And I love it. Like they're planting seeds where they're going. And then the momentum, right? Energy and motion stays in motion, kinetic energy. It's a very powerful force. Yeah.
So now for those people, like, I mean, here, I run into this one a lot too, where, you know, somebody's like, hey, I've partnered up with so-and-so, but so-and-so's not really pulling their weight. What do I do? You know, and I'm pretty blunt to everybody to go, get the hell out of Dodge, you know, like if you're the one that's doing all the biz and you're the one running and your partner's not really doing enough, where again is your leverage to have this individual there with you, right? It's like folks that, you know, these two ladies I remember, and again, I hope they're watching. I've said this to them both in person, but it's that idea of like, we do video. I'm like, oh, cool. When was the last video? They're like 3 months ago. I'm like, you don't do video. And then when I got to talking with them closed doors, it was like, what's going on? Well, one of us wants to, the other one doesn't want to. And like, so I'm waiting on the one that doesn't want to. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but if you want to, you should just go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. Should everyone be part of a team? Should they all be thinking about building their own team? Or should some people just stay as individual agents?
This is a loaded
question. Loaded, yes.
Because I think we're seeing what we knew for a long time. Like we're seeing other forces come into the industry that are going to have massive impact. And I truly am one of the believers and have been for a long time. Like I've been talking about consultants approach and teams and how I think we're cushioned with the industry changes because we already operate in a way that a lot of the tech companies are starting to figure out, right? And how they can charge and what the opportunities are worth. They're worth only as much as the agent is trained to convert them. This is the reality. And teams have figured this out a long time ago, right? So they're elevating the minimum standard because they're going, hey, if I'm not making money and you're not making money, our business is not solid. And a weak business is not good for anyone. It's not good for the consumer. It's not good for the team members, not good for the team leader. That's for sure. So should everybody be a team, on a team or lead a team? I think you get a better experience going into the business on a team. I think it's like a law firm and a partnership where you come in and you are trained and you shadow and you have to know what you're doing and you have to represent that business. And having worked on a team, you know, would I appreciate somebody who's very weak coming in and going out and engaging in the public and messing with what's my reputation too, because I'm part of that team? No. Not really. We all want to elevate the game. But I mean, that being said, like you have to know yourself first. You have to know your strengths, your weaknesses. You have to decide, are you an entrepreneur? Because in real estate, in the real estate industry, the way it is now, team leaders are entrepreneurs. That's what it is. There's no difference with working with any other small business to grow and leverage and scale than it is with a real estate team. It's very, very similar. So you need to decide, are you willing to invest in this, in breaking everything down to processes, system strategies that again are going to allow you to increase in the margins. Like all of a sudden I have a system so I can leverage graphic design overseas. Like Matt Johnson actually did a great little podcast, I forget what it's called, but about this, like the mushy middle in the industry and how a lot of the coaching companies working with the average agents are really worried because the industry is changing so quickly and they're not those traditional models. Like I think one of the questions, and I'm not trying to get off, but one of the questions I always ask, it's like, if you knew your brokerage was training you on systems that were created and tested prior to the internet, like how would you feel about that? But how often is this happening? Every single day. You know what? In my business, I take my business pretty seriously. I'd be pissed. Like that's just the honest truth of it, because what's coming out is very different than what is working and tested, what we're seeing results with. So should everybody be on a team? You have to be willing to have those pinch years, right? You're going to be selling and you're going to be building. You're going to need to build systems and processes. It's 11 years of refining our systems and processes, right? And I think you also, like I said, need to know your end game. Like at the end of this, what are you going to be making? What do you want to do? Do you want to retire? Do you want to sell the business? Do you want to leave the team? Do you still want to sell? Make sure all those options are open to you, because you know what? Like you have value in what you build. Like the saddest thing for me is to see somebody build this massive brand and massive team and realize that again, they have to sell, that they're going to take like a 75% pay cut without selling, but all these agents are like flourishing from what they've built and leveraged. Like that's not that's not cool, right? It's like somebody coming into our coaching thing and going 2 months and taking all of our content and saying, we've tested this over hundreds of teams for 11 years. Like, you may not know the value, but we do. Like, you have to know the end game of where you're going. You have to have an aligned strategy if you want to be a team. So your example was perfect. I want to do video. They don't want to do video. Where's the business plan? Where's the strategy?
So
where's the
what do you suggest to them? Like, what do you recommend to them? Like, I'm going like, just get out there and do it. Like, don't wait on anybody.
But then if they can't come on, okay. And I'm just going to say it bluntly, because I have trouble sometimes lately. My patience has left me since I turned 40.
We're blunt over here on the My Show podcast.
I'm just like,
don't worry.
If you can't get on the same page about doing a video, like me, and I'm just saying, and this, like, I know, David, you might be like, no, it's totally different. But I'm just saying, really, like, if you can't communicate a strategy to do video, that's probably not a good sign that you have a strong structure or foundation for your team. And
no, I agree with that. I agree with that completely.
I'm not saying break it up, but I'm saying pull back and go, hey, like, what do we want? Are we going for the same thing? Do we have the same vision? Like, are we all in? Are we serious about this? Because there's a couple of things that I personally think in a team, if you partner with the wrong person, you can't get over. One of them is laziness, and one of them is deceit. And those two things, no matter how much you try, a lazy person will have lazy excuses, and they'll send everybody's heads flying about what's right and what's wrong. And you can't have that in your culture. So laziness is one. I'm like, teams cannot work with lazy partners, not high performance teams. It cannot work. They can work with people who set a goal that's different than other people. That's very different. But people make excuses, don't do what they need to do. They're not showing up. They're always passing the buck. That's not going to function well in a team environment ever, because that person isn't stepping into personal responsibility. How can you be on a team if you're not responsible for leading yourself? You can't partner with other people at that point, right? And then deceit's obvious. No one needs me to explain more on that.
No. But yeah. even take that. It's funny because I'm about like 10 minutes out from finishing my most recent book, which I was talking about the other day as well, which has been like 14 hours long. Literally, it's Audible. So like 14 hours, like to me, that's like 3 books already. But I'm literally just about to finish it. And it was one that actually our buddy Anthony Brown had recommended. And I had it on my wish list in Audible, but I never actually downloaded it. And then Anthony was on the podcast. He's like, get this book. And so I went and I finally was like, fine, 14 hours later. And I got to tell you, it has been a great book. Own Your Life, Own the Day by Aubrey Marcus. I've mentioned this a few times on some of my recent podcasts because the book just hasn't ended yet. But the whole thing is about owning you. Yeah. And so the points you were just making there with respect to, you've got to be in alignment and you got to kind of be on the same page and know what your goals are. I mean, I think that that's a big deal there right off the hop of, if you want to succeed as an individual and or as a team, you still need to make sure that you've got that individual part locked in. You've got to know what you want as a person. You got to know what your lifetime goals are, what you're trying to achieve on a daily basis, and you've got to be ready to rock every single day. And now, to your thing about that alignment, I believe that you got to find people that are in alignment with that. And that's probably how you're going to succeed even more. And again, I haven't taken the courses that you teach, but I imagine you go through a lot of that stuff.
Well, yeah, the first is always leadership over self. Like, leading others is way later. And the truth is, when you lead yourself well, people are going to notice how you're doing that. And also being introspective, right? Like you said, what do you do if you have the wrong team member? Like, you always go to yourself first. Like, what am I doing to attract this? Like, I'm big on energetics. Like, what am I doing to attract this? Is this a lesson I need to learn? Is this a weakness in my leadership style? What do I need to change? Were my systems, processes, and expectations too weak? So they created these problems, right? So if I can stand in leadership of myself, my firm belief is strong teams are filled with leaders. They're all leaders. And all of our training is that. We'll get on a coaching call and say, no, like, every single one of you are leaders. You're leading your business. You're leveraging the team to do that. The team's leveraging you. You're a cohesive unit, but you're still your own person, right? Like, you need to know who you are, what you want, how you're willing to show up. Because at the end of the day, if I show up and I don't cheer on my team, reciprocity is broken. And it says something really strong about somebody who can be on a team and take opportunities and not support back. And it screams to the rest of the team. It's not even like you need to talk to them about it. You just kind of see, okay, like, how's this going to phase out, right? Because leaders always show up. This is the difference. Even if they show up to say, I got to resign because I can't do it, they show up and they speak their truth, right? Like, nobody said it was easy.
No, but again, power of reciprocity right there is, I mean, and I've said this one many times, giving you shall receive. It's that idea right there. And if you look and say, you know, if you're going to come out and genuinely want to help people and give to people and support people and make them better, it's amazing how the universe just kind of brings that back to you and starts to make you even better. You know, and I will say firsthand, I mean, I have learned that on my own through trying to really change my mindset over the past number of years and just kind of how I operate, how I think, who I am, reading books, educating myself, learning from others. It's that idea of the more we can kind of take that in and it starts to help motivate ourselves. Well, it's amazing how when we start to give back, it's very motivating for others and it starts to take people to another level in their personal as well as their business world.
Yeah, and I think for anybody watching, like I'm always careful. Like the reason I'm less patient and the reason I'm super strong about this now is because like most people, I've fallen on it and I've watched clients fall over it and I've watched them be hurt by it, their teams be hurt, and myself and my team be hurt by it. I mean, it comes from a place of experience of going, you know, when you don't know yourself as a leader, sometimes you're going to partner with other people who are not that strong because you don't know your strength, you don't know what to expect, and you're not expecting enough from other people around you. So it's not as if, you know, it's a very difficult process as you're building a team because it forces you to look at yourself. And if you don't change, you keep hitting the same problems again and again. And that's why a lot of people are like, forget it, I don't want to have a team. Because I feel like all I'm doing is babysitting around with other people who don't pull their weight because they don't have clarity on how to build it, how to communicate it, let alone their place in it. And it's hard. It's not easy work, right?
So real high level then, here I am, I'm in the real estate business. I've thought about it. I got a colleague that's approached me about it. And I know I've kind of asked this question already, sort of, but it's that thing of like, I'm right there. I'm right at the brink of kind of going, I don't know, maybe it would be easier to market together. Maybe you can like join me while we're door knocking because I hate getting the door slammed in my face. And again, I've got my 2 cents about whether you should be by yourself or not. From a security factor, sure, be with somebody. But when you come to my door, if you're the one that wants the business, again, there's got to be some sort of like one-to-one type thing. But again, bigger sort of conversation on that. It's more that I'm at that brink.
Okay.
What am I looking at? Am I looking at the other person to go, is this person aligned with me? Am I going, is this person got more energy than me? What are those kind of little things that I should be paying attention to or maybe even asking?
Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm busy, right? I'm busy, I built my business and I'm deciding, should I partner with somebody or should I build?
I want to go on vacation. And I thought to myself, if I go, and we all know the minute we book one, the phone starts ringing, but it's I want to go and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be gone for 7 days, 2 weeks. Who's going to take my calls? I can let it pawn off to kind of the front desk and they can funnel it. Or
So, okay. So I think first of all, like if you're looking to do that, like build a team, like go to that 2-year, 5-year vision and reverse engineer it. So you're actually going to a place you want to be because maybe you want time off for the vacation, but you don't want to lead and manage people and train people. And there's lots of agents who have just, again, reciprocal relationships where they just refer, they pay a flat fee. There's all sorts of agents that pay a flat fee for showings, for home inspections, for revisits. They'll pay a certain amount for the work that's done while they're away. This happens all the time. So, you know, we hear about 25, 50% referral. Like that's one side of the market. Like the people who are already leveraging how real estate is done don't always compensate that exact same way because they can create volume, right? So I'd look at, do I want to actually build a team? Second, I'd look at, do I want to partner or is my business strong and I want other people to be able to leverage and benefit from my brand and I'm going to benefit because I have somebody who can support and do some aspects of the business, support my clients in a way that I'm comfortable with and I know what they're going to say and how they're going to service them and I have that full confidence. And it's very different to have a partner versus build out a team from an existing strong brand. They're two different strategies. And sometimes if you want to have a big team, the partnership can be great for some people, but it can be tricky. I've seen people partner with somebody who's just starting to get in the industry. Like they don't have any database yet. They don't have a lot of experience and they don't know. And they say to this high producer, you know, typically high producer, hey, why don't we partner up? And the producer's like, well, yeah, that's fair. I want to be collaborative. And again, not seeing their value, what they've built, what they're offering to the market, right? The market of recruitment, not the market of consumers. So, you know, you can either learn by trial and error, but I can say confidently the top teams in Canada learned some things by trial and error, but most of the ones who have built with us certainly didn't. They modeled the best. Model the best, forget the rest, right? What the top 1% is doing is very different from the rest of the market. So why waste time? Like Tony Robbins is always like, who do you go to? The cooks in the kitchen. Like when you want to learn something, you go to the cook in the kitchen. You go to the people who are dealing with it all the time.
Yeah, living it.
And right, and I invest in that. I go to events. I go to learn, of course, because I want to learn where everybody else is at. And I don't want to waste time and money making mistakes in my business because I'm reinvesting to offer more services to our network, just like our teams are doing. So that's important to me.
So tell me about that then. You host a mastermind each year. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's up in Muskoka.
Yeah, it's
a beautiful part of the world. Tell us a little bit more about that. What's that about?
Yeah, it's super fun. So it's at Taboo, which is right on Lake Muskoka, just around the corner from Gravenhurst. Maybe it's technically in Gravenhurst too. And what it is, it's this 100 deal plus ultimate mastermind. So we have team leaders come from all across Canada whose teams are selling 100 or more deals all together, or the agent is selling 100 more deals. The other exception that we do, it's awesome. If you're a top 1% across a major brand, we also usually consider that as an exception. So if they're a top 1% producer nationally for like Remax or Royal LePage or Century 21, I don't want Keller Williams, I don't want to miss it. Like we're a big brand.
No.
Any big brand that you are a top 1%, it's pretty safe that if you send us, an application that we'll highly consider it. But yeah, it's masterminding, it's diving deep. We bring experts out there who specialize like you, right? Who specialize in helping people with the center of influence in the video and all this. And we bring people like Andrew Fogliato out. And every year we have different experts some are existing within our team. Other ones are new that we're testing because we always test anything new with the big mega teams, and they get first crack at like trying their services and see how it works. But they also connect network. It's 3 days and it's June. I should know this. Hold on, I'm going to check. It is. I have a vacation before then, which is making my brain super interesting. Hold on a second.
Sure. Now, are you going to?
It's the 19th, 20th, and 21st.
19th,
20th. Wednesday to Friday. Yeah.
Are you going to climb like Machu Picchu just before that, or what?
No, I'm hiking around the Amalfi Coast.
See,
I'm so excited.
I knew it. It's going to be something like that.
I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait. It's a dream trip. And yeah, I'm over the moon. But yeah, it's 3 days. And last year, the only feedback was we wanted more time. We're like, it was 2.5 days.
That's amazing.
So we added a whole another half day of masterminding for everybody.
Now, is this a lot more collaboration, talking to one another, kind of like roll up the sleeves, like get dirty type stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then there's different experts, and you can pick whose table to sit at, and then they'll go up twice, explain what they do and why and whatever's most relevant for your business. You do a full application, which even that gives you clarity on where you're going. And what I love, it's all collaborative, and the reciprocity is always there because any of the top masterminds also contribute. So they can choose to contribute just at their table or as a panelist or as a speaker. They can propose it. And that means anybody with a unique ability in the room or unique results, you're going to hear from them because we're going to highlight, wow, look what these people are doing in this area of their business. And then all of a sudden, these people are killing it in inside sales, and these people are killing it in like a unique way that they're branding and supporting the community. And now they're going to come together, right? Because of course, this one's like, we need to improve our online conversion. So the cool thing is that people come with that learning mindset, right? Like they're like, hey, we're never too big to grow and learn and support.
That's wicked.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
That sounds like a very powerful room to be in for those 2-3 days that are there, because again, you get to really roll up your sleeves. Now, I know that you've also got the Ultimate Team Summit, which I know what it's all about. I truly got to experience that firsthand last year. And I seriously, sincerely thought that was a very powerful event to be a part of. Naturally, I believe that all top producing teams, again, having been a part of that event, I believe that all top producing teams should really be carving out time in their schedule to attend. I think that's going to be back in Niagara Falls this year again.
It is. It's November 6th to 8th in the Fallsview Casino and Conference Center. And we're going to have some really good live examples because last year we were talking about like our commission system, and I've been actually running the numbers because there's something I do very poorly. It's saying to you, hey, our clients did this, and this is how much more money it made them. So like one of our little systems, like if you had an average sale price, what was it? 407. I was doing this for my listing system workshop coming up in 2 weeks. So like if you had an average sale price of 475,000 and you implemented this one system, you'd have an increase of 75,000. You implemented the full system, it's like 170,000 plus. And this is just over 35 transactions.
Wow.
And we never talk about this because I'm always going, you're going to convert more, you're going to convert at this percentage. But sometimes in the team world, in our world, that resonates because we know where that goes. We're like, okay, wow, we're converting here. That means X, and we know all the steps. But when I communicate with the public, sometimes I don't do a great job of being like, no, like when this team went from 120 deals to 300 deals, like what does this mean, right? Like how did they grow? What does it mean for the team and the service, and what did they invest in? Like it just, sometimes I think I forget that to explain the impact of like what a powerful, even one team system in your business can do. So Ultimate Team Summit's all about that, right? Like bringing what we do. And obviously you were the MC last year, David, which was super awesome. We're really hoping he's going to commit to do it next year because he was the best MC we've ever had. It was so good.
I would be honored, and I thank you. No, but I truly, I mean, being there and just, again, the people that I saw in that room, and yeah, being the MC, you get to see the bios of these people. You get to see what they're all about, what kind of transactions they're doing. And I mean, you could see it from the stage. For anybody that was in that room, like I was literally blown away as I was even like looking that stuff over and saying it out loud, just to think about the volume of business that these people are doing. Mm-hmm. It is phenomenal. And then to see the confidence and the trust factor that they put in you and your team to be able to help them and their team get to that level. Again, you can't buy that stuff. So that was definitely a really, really powerful event. And yeah, looking forward to being back there this year for sure. So I'm going to switch gears and ask you, like I was mentioning that I was just finishing up a book. I know you read, again, you do a lot of travel. I find that, you know, optically, you seem like a pretty spiritual person. You're into the yoga stuff, and I know you're into that. What are you reading right now? Have you got any recommendations out there for anybody?
It's funny you say spiritual person, and I'm going to say.
No, am I wrong? I don't know.
I'm going to forget. Shoot, am I going to forget the name of the one? Actually, I've been reading, and I'm going to say it's reading. I've been reading story. Like I really like two things. Like I love people, like mindset stuff in business, but I also love historical fiction because I love hearing the dynamics, right? So I've been reading books of The Wives of Ernest Hemingway, actually. Okay. And one of them was the only woman who was on the shores at D-Day and the only journalist who arrived there and bought a house in Havana. When I was in Havana, I went and saw the house. But what was really interesting for me being a woman in business is you do the whole tour of the house. They don't say that she rented it, she renovated it, she paid for it, like all this stuff until the second wife. I was like, what's going on here? Like we're written out of history again. So now I'm reading the second book about his first wife, because you hear so much about the one, but they were both actually really like radical, strong women. But the other book that I've been reading on Audible that I love is the David Goggins or Goggins, I would say wrong, but if you guys haven't listened to it, and do it with Audible because you get extra footage or feature of him talking on the book. So it's so much more than reading it because you're getting him explaining and talking about his stories. And
what's that one about?
Oh, it's called Can't Hurt Me. So he's the one who went through the Navy SEALs training more than anybody else. I'm forgetting the name of, like the.
I'm gonna look that one up. I love Audible.
The mental, like. It was the only book I've read that made me feel less intense about life. I was like, oh yeah, like it's absolutely unbelievable about being able to step into a different mental game and push through it, and how your body connects to the mental world and the physical world, and how we're so much more resilient, right? In training all the time, like when your body feels like it's going to fail, you have 60% more stores. And the book is just, if you've been through anything that you think defeated you, read that book. Because
what's it called again? I'm sorry.
You Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins or Goggins, I think I say it wrong. Okay. But unbelievable. Don't listen to it around kids because some of the stories he talks about are personal and they're, I guess graphic.
But I got you.
Yeah, like our abilities to train our minds is pretty phenomenal. And I spend my whole life doing that, right? Like I'm fascinated by that. So really good. Like if you want to kick ass in a serious way, which I do for good cause, read the book. Like it's going to help you.
You know what's funny? Because that's exactly sort of my play on that Own the Day, Own Your Life things. Like he takes you through so many different facets of your life. And then like, I mean, even today, like driving in the car, it's, at one point he goes like, you think you're the only one, but we all wake up doing this, this, and that. You're like, whew, okay, right? There's like those little voices in your head. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
be the only one with those voices, right?
Everyone has a voice. You have to be your own coach. I've had times where I yell at myself, like, are you kidding? You're going to sleep in? You're not going to go to yoga? This is who you are? Like, if people heard, they're like, who are you, a drill army sergeant? But you know what? When my kids and we got to get something done, single parent, you know when to go to army sergeant mode. And I do it with myself. And you know what? I have no problem. And I get up and I do with the kids, march. Moms
are the best army sergeants. Joshua even said that to me last night. He's like, Mom's so mean. You're so cool. I'm like, man. Kathleen, how can people find you and also learn more about the coaching program, learn more about the events that you're doing? Where can people go to any interest they've got from anything we talked about today? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, so the website is ittakes.team. If you scroll to the bottom, you can actually take an instant, it's free business assessments. You can assess how you're leveraging your business, what next steps you should take. You can request a free strategy call with us, and it's not a sales call. Like, it is a strategy call. Like, we're going to ask you a ton of questions. We're going to give you recommendations on where to go. We're going to tell you where we see you might get blindsided, and then let you do what you're going to do. And if you work with us, that's awesome. And if you don't, that's totally cool too. And you can always email us, just admin@kathleenspeaks.com. And we're all over social media. I love people to follow us or PM us, like whatever. We respond to all of it. But ittakes.team is the best main website for us.
Perfect. And I can attest to the fact that you're definitely not a hard person to find on the social world and online, which is, it's a good thing, because when we talk about the systems and sort of that, some of these old school trainings versus what the new school looks like these days, the social game is all about that value add rather than that sales pitch. And I think that everybody's got that very, very confused, and we can leave that one to another conversation. But I do believe you're doing it very much the right way. And it's awesome to watch. So thank you again so much for making the time today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. My pleasure. I love connecting. Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody who joined us and watched. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you, everybody. So you're either watching this recording or listening to this on iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or even Spotify. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com or even mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thanks everyone for watching and listening.